Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, so we are ready, and we may put the verse on the screen if you are ready, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I just done my prayers.
Okay. Please.
Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Gurave Gurachandaya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishna Ya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Agyana Trimandasya Ganagana Salakaya Chaksus Sumritayena Tasmasi Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishta Stapitaya Nabhutale Sayarupa Kadamayam Yadati Sampadantikam Narayana Namaskritya Naraycha Vanarotamam Devam Sarasate Vyasam Tatujaya Madhiraye Nastapaye Swabhadresura Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastike Ramani Chaiva Purane Bhate Tato Advacha Madhe Chari Sagacha Gayati Mukam Karchibachanam Twangu Langarite Grihi Yakipata Hambande Paramananda Madhava Dhamma Pujita Katibutra Paramoni Masham Satan Vedan Vastava Matavastu Shivadat Batayo Malanam Sima Bhagavate Mahamane Kritiki Bhai Paraisvara Sadyordi Yavarudi Chetra Katipita Kishanam Nikama Kapata Galitan Falan Sukamo Kantabasam Yutan He Bhatam Bhagavatam Rasamalaya Mahura Rasikamo Bhuvavuka Yashava Shamanaya Krishna Parama Purushe Bhakti Uttapade Punsaso Kamo Abhaya Paha Atoyam Brahma Sutranam Gayati Vaninaya Gayati Bhasha Ruposho Vidata Parivimita Sabhaviditi Asanam Saram Saram Paribrimita Savedanta Saram Hishibhakta Misyate Tarasam Mita Shatipta Sha Nanyata Sharati Kochi Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Chimamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nibhisesa Sunyavadi Paschade Satarine Vanchakapaturibhyascha Kripasyunjibhya Evacha Patitana Pavanavibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Siva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I thank those who are online, and I hope more people, more devotees will be coming. That is the hope. It's already, it's 8:30 here. No, now it's about 8:35, 8:40 here in India for Vrindavan. And so anyway, I welcome everyone who are here online. So today is the last day of Kartik, the Damodara Mass, the month of Damodara, which has been going on for the past 30 days. And also, which means the end of Puja Brata. Puja Brata is the vow that we take for this month of Kartik. In that vow, whereby we make a resolution that we will follow certain rules especially towards in respect to increasing our chanting, our studying of the scriptures. Of course, the most important thing, of course, is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, because through the chanting, everything is attainable. So this month, some devotees will take certain vows. Maybe they will eat less. They will eat once a day. Or instead of chanting 16 rounds, they will chant 64 rounds. Of course, if you live in Vrindavan, you do parikrama regularly. Every day we have parikrama every day. But the month of Damodar is such a month that whatever devotional activities one does in this month, it doesn't matter either reading or chanting or lecturing or whatever. Any kind of devotional activity that one does in this month is magnified thousands of times more than the normal days. So which means the result of what you do in this month, that result is magnified thousands of times more than the other months. So therefore, it's a very, very special month. And that's why this month is called the month of Damodara. Lord Damodara is a special form whereby Krishna, as a child, he was bound by his mother. You can just imagine the person whom the whole world is bound up by his external energy, Maya potency. Everyone is bondage. Everyone is in bondage by the Maya, which is the external energy of Krishna. But the same person by whom the whole world is bound by the rope of Maya is being bound by his mother. Stagreba Damodara Bhakti Bhadan. Iti Dishwalila Bi Ananda Kunde Sago Sanimajanta Akyapayanta Tadiye Sitagesu Bhakta Jitatan Puna Primatastan Satabriti Bande. And then the first one said, Yashoda Viyolukala Dayamana Paramishna Achanta Dutago. So basically, Lord Krishna, he was bound due to fear of his mother. He was running away, and his mother was chasing him. His mother was running after him. And Krishna, because Krishna did some naughty activities. So Mother Yashoda said, now I must punish you. She took a stick, and then she was trying to catch Krishna as Krishna was running away. But because, usually a young child, the boys, they are very, very fast in running. So Krishna was running, and Mother Yashoda was a little bit heavy, because she was, heavy breast because of so much breast milk. And then she was running after Krishna, but she could not catch Krishna because Krishna was running away, he was running very fast. She could not catch him. However, rather than thinking that, yes, how much is going to punish Krishna, she was simply thinking of what kind of trouble my dear child must be undergoing by running on the ground. Running on the ground, and there's so many, many, many stones on the ground. So here's the child was running on the ground, running. So Mother Yashoda was thinking of this, the trouble that Krishna is undergoing by running on the ground, so many stones, they are pricking his foot. So because of this, so Christians become overwhelmed. Basically, Krishna become defeated by the love of his mother. So he allowed himself to be banned. Somebody Yashoda caught Krishna. And then, even though she raised a stake, but of course she would not beat Krishna with stake. So of course Krishna was crying, He's crying. And they said, Rudanta Mohuneta, he's crying, his eyes was shedding so much tears, and the kajal, the marking on his eye, it's called the kajal, the markings on the eyes of the. Normally, I think they do it in Africa also, but initially in India, the mothers, they put kajal. It's like the black it's like a pink, black paste, like this on the eyebrows. On the eyebrows and the eye of the child for protection from the, evil influence, especially. So, somebody Yashoda, she saw Krishna crying, and Krishna was rubbing his eye, was rubbing his eye because tear was coming out, rubbing his eye, and then the kajal on his eye was smearing on his face, because a tear was running, so his tear was being mixed with his kajal. So and there was tears, and he's breathing heavily, And of course, Krishna was doing that because he didn't want his mother to beat him. So therefore, he has to put on an act that yes, I should do something so that my mother do not beat me. Somebody should say, oh, my child is too afraid. Say, Yashoda, Biya means become afraid. So Krishna was fearful of Mother Yashoda. So Mother Yashoda has seen that Krishna is afraid of her. So she threw away the sticks. She said, okay, I know you're very naughty, but I'm not going to beat you. So therefore, I'm going to bind you to a wooden mortar, to a grinding mortars. The mortars for the grinding. In our childhood, whereby the ladies in the villages, even the town also, they pound the yam, pounding the yam. So the same is also, let's do the same here in India also, whereby the grinding mortar to either to grind spices or to make yogurt, all these things. So Mother Yashoda decided to bind Krishna on this. She decided to bind Krishna on these grinding mortars. She said, now I'm going to bind you here so that you can no longer be naughty. So as I said earlier, that okay, the person by whom the whole world, the whole universe, is in bondage because of his energy. The same person become helpless in the hands of his mother. But what is this bond? What is bond that Krishna? What is the rope that Krishna is bound with? It's called Bhakti Bhadam, the rope of love, devotional love. But Yashoda, she has love of Krishna. She is the epitome of what they call the love of God, love of Krishna. So therefore, Krishna, having become her child, as you see, that's her duty to maintain her child, to chastise her child if needs be, to chastise the child. So therefore, she bound Krishna to the grinding mortar. And after binding Krishna, she went inside the house to continue the household work, to continue the household affairs. So in the meanwhile, all the Krishna's friends, they saw that Krishna has been banned and there's nothing they can do about it. And then Balaram came. He came to the spot because he was not there when Mother Yashoda was banning Krishna. And Balaram is, Balaram is is the source of Vishnu, the most powerful. So when Balaram, who is Krishna's brother, when he saw that Krishna has been bound to a grand immortal, he became very angry. He said, who has done this? Who has bound my brother? He became so angry. Who dared to do this? And Balaram, if he gets angry, he can destroy the whole universe. He can destroy the whole universe if he gets angry. So he was very angry. He said, yeah, who has banned my brother? Who is like, so me, who has banned my brother? And then the boys, the Kaya boys, so one of them went to whisper to Balaram's ear. Say, oh, Mother Yashoda has bound Krishna. It's Mother Yashoda. So when Balaram heard this, oh, and then he became quiet. He said, oh, Mother Yashoda has bound Krishna? Oh, okay. I cannot do anything. Because he knows Mother Yashoda, who has, she's the universal mother, immortal, So Mother bound Krishna, oh, I cannot do anything. So he went his way. And of course, in this pastime of being bound to the great immortal, of course, some other wonderful pastimes took place. A wonderful pastime took place. So the pastime is that there are two Arjuna trees, big trees. These trees had been standing in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, in the courtyard of Krishna's house. These two trees have been there, very big, massive tree called Arjuna trees. Now, these trees has been there for thousands of years because they were caused by Narada Muni to be there. They were actually demigod in their previous life. The demigod who are the sons of Kuvera. And these demigods, they were performing some shameless acts by being naked with denizens of heaven, the heavenly girls. And then Narada Muni was coming, and these two demigods, they were so drunk that they did not notice that the great sage Narada Muni was coming. So when Narada Muni saw them, and they did not even cover themselves when the sage was passing. So Narada Muni said, oh, these two fellows, they are so proud because of their wealth. Normally in this world, when someone is very, very wealthy, the wealth is the source of pride. People become very, very proud because of wealth. It's our day-to-day life that you see somebody who is very, very wealthy. Yeah, very, very proud. They do so many, many crazy things that they will do. So many, many crazy things. So therefore, Narada Muni was talking about the absolute uselessness of so much wealth. So these two fellows, they are so intoxicated that they totally forgot themselves in a drunken stage. So therefore, Narada Muni, in order to show mercy to these two demigods, he caused them to become a tree. Say, you fellows, you become a tree. Sharpen Baba. You become a tree. But however, even though he caused them to become a tree, he actually showed them his mercy because they became tree in the house of Nanda Maharaj. Because by causing to become tree, so that you become liberated only when my Lord comes. That's the time you become liberated. So when Krishna said baby, when he was tied by his great immortal, and he saw these two trees, and then Krishna remembered the word of his devotee, Narada Muni. So he dragged the great immortal. He dragged the immortal to between the two trees. and then dragging them between the two trees, and then he pulled this mortar acrosswise the trees, crosswise, because these trees, they were standing side by side. So Krishna put them crosswise, and then he pulled them, he pulled a tree, and then the tree fell down. The both trees crashed on the ground. So the both tree crashed on the ground, and then the two demigods came out. So here's a person who himself was bound by his mother, that he went to free two persons who have been bound by eternity. So these two demigods, they became free, and then they prayed to Krishna, they prayed to him, and then they left. Now it so happened that Krishna was bound by his mother, and he's still tied up to the grinding mortar. So this demigod, they could have said, oh, dear Lord, you are bound. You are bound. Let us remove your rope. What is binding? But they dare not do that. They dare not remove the rope that has bound Krishna. Why? Because Krishna has been bound by the rope of love of his mother. So these two demigods, they dare not remove the rope. So they simply offer their prayers, and then they went back to the heavenly planet. In the meanwhile, Krishna still remained tied with the grinding mortar. And of course, when the Brajabasis, when they heard the crash of these two massive trees, so they all came running. They came running to the spot, because normally Vrindavan, they are used to having so many demons coming to Vrindavan to attack. And of course, all those demons, they're always getting killed by Krishna. So the Brajabasis, they thought that another demon had come to Vrindavan to create havoc. So they came, and then everyone came out. Nanda Maharaj came out, and he saw Krishna is bound to the mortar. So he was so frustrated. Who has done this? Who has done this? And all this. And of course, when they saw the two trees that has fallen down, and so Nanda Maharaj asked the boys, Krishna's friend, that how did these trees fall down? So the boy, they started stammering, because they're all, child, So they started stammering that, oh, Krishna is Krishna, who had caused these two trees to fall down. So they are simply stammering. But Nanda Maharaj and all the elderly Brajabasis, they don't even pay attention what the boys are saying. To them, it's just child's talk. Just a child, so they did not pay attention. Okay. So anyway, there's so much, very beautiful pastime that took place in this Damodara, Lila, which how Krishna was free, and then eventually, Nanda Maharaj free Krishna from the bind, and Mother Yashoda herself, she became so grief-stricken that she had bound her son, and this tree could have followed him, but no. Anyway, so it's such a beautiful lila that went on. And the Satyabhrata Muni, he had composed these 8 prayers, which we all sing every night of the Kartik time. And one of those songs, one of the verse is Namo Diva Damodara Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodhu Kajalabdi Magna. So Ananta means unlimited love. Namo Dantalila Yadiva Yatubyan. He said, I offer my obeisances to your unlimited pastimes. So this is going to be the subject of today's topic of SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM verse, which is the Canto 1, chapter 18, text number 10. So the rishis, they were talking to Sutta Goswami because they want to hear about the sweet pastimes of Lord Krishna. They want to hear about the wonderful pastimes, the wonderful narration, which was spoken by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So they are very, very eager to hear. So therefore, they are talking to Sutta Goswami. Now, to this verse, I just read it, and then I read it proper version of Prabhupada. Ya ya kata bhagavata katani yoru kamanam guna kama soya pumbhi samseya stabubusubhi. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and whatsoever. Kata, topics. Bhagavata, about the personality of Godhead. Katani here were to be spoken by me. Urukamana, of him who acts wonderfully. Guna, transcendental qualities. Karma, uncommon deeds. Ashraya, involving Pumbi by persons. Some say Bhya, ought to be heard. Ta, all of them, Ubushu Bihi, by those who want their own welfare. Translation of Prabhupada is Divine Grace, Prabhupada, okay? Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life must submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead, who acts wonderfully. Purpose. The systematic hearing of the transcendental activities, qualities, and names of Lord Sri Krishna pushes one towards eternal life. Systematic hearing means knowing him gradually in truth and fact. And this knowing him in truth and fact means attaining eternal life, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Such transcendental, glorified activities of Lord Sri Krishna are the prescribed remedy for counteracting the process of birth, death, old age, and disease, which are considered to be material awards for the conditioned living being. The combination of such a perfectional stage of life is the goal of human life and the attainment of transcendental bliss. So this is a very, very wonderful verses. Ya ya kata bhagavata katani yoru kamana. It means kata means the narrations. Kata means the narrations. And what kind of narration must be heard? What kind of topic we should hear? We should hear that topic that will give us maximum benefit in life. We should hear only that topic only that will give us eternal benefit, that will give us maximum benefit in life. So which means a person who really desire his own welfare will simply want to hear about the wonderful names and activities of Lord Sri Krishna. The Lord performs so many activities, so many wonderful leelas. And all those leelas are very sweet, are very, very wonderful to hear. And especially for one who have lost taste for for materialistic, topics. Because materialistic topics, they are compared to the croaking of frogs. So normally, when the frog croaks, what's when the croak frogs? What happens is that the frog usually invites snake. And what does the snake do? The snake comes and swallows the frog. That's what happened. So the frog croak, and then the snake comes and swallows the frog. So which means the croaking of the frog or the frog is the invitation of death. So in this world, if we simply busy ourselves hearing material topics, hearing activities of material affairs, what happened? We are simply increasing our repetition of birth and death in this material world. We are increasing our repetition of birth and death in material world. There is someone who really desires his own welfare. A person who desires his own welfare, he concentrates himself in hearing about the topic of the Supreme Lord. For example, in the BHAGAVATAM, in the same BHAGAVATAM, we find when Narada Muni, when he was talking to Vyasadeva, when Narada Muni was talking to Vyasadeva, he said, this is from the first canto, chapter 5, text 10. Ayabacha chitta padam mare yaso jaga pavita praganita karichit tabayasam titam vishanti manasam mayata hansa niramani usukshana. He said, those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Those who are like Paramahansas. Paramahansas are those who take the essence of everything. Paramahansas. Which means, as they said, a swan is able to separate milk from water. If the milk is poured in the water, and a swan is able to separate the milk from the water, just imagine. So the Paramahansas, the swan-like personalities, they are like that. They take the essence of everything. They look for the essence of everything, which is the topic of the Supreme Lord. Mother Kapila said, Sata Pashanga Mamaviya Samvido Babantu Rikana Rasana Kata Tajo Shana Apavagavatmani. Sadarati Bhakti Anukramisiti. So he's saying that my devotees, Sata means the devotees, Prashangam, when they are together, what did they do? Mama Viya Sambido. They talk about they discuss about my transcendental activity. Mama Viya. Viya means strong, wonderful activities. So my devotee, only when they are together, they discuss about my wonderful activity. Bhavanti Rit Kana Rasayana Kata Bhavanti, which means it becomes the narration of Krishna, of the Lord, It's very, very sweet. It's like pouring nectar into your ear. You know, you have your ear and they are pouring sweet nectar, nectarian nectar of Krishna onto your ear. And the old senses become very, very jubilant. The whole senses become very, very vibrant when there's a recitation of the pastimes of the Lord's names of the Lord. The Lord glories is chanted. The Lord's names have been chanted. All the senses of the body become very, very enlivened. Rupa Goswami said that, oh my Lord, your name is so sweet. Your activity is so sweet that I wish that I could have thousands of mouths, because one mouth is not enough. I wish I could have thousands of mouths just so that I could be able to speak about you. And I wish I could have thousands of ears, thousands of ears, so that I can hear about you, because your name is so sweet, your lila, everything is so sweet. I wish to have thousands of ears. So the devotee become greedy to want to hear and chant the Lord's name. So therefore, it's praying to the Lord to have more ears, more mouths, to be able to hear and chant the Lord's name. Now, this is someone who is actually ready to get out of this material world. So he says, Bhavantari Kanarasana Kata. And a Tajoshana Apabhagavatmani. Tajoshana means this is the path of liberation. Tajoshana Apabhagavatmani. Of course, beyond liberation, of course, is the attainment of devotional service to the Lord. That's the beyond liberation. So therefore, Shraddharati Bhakti Anukarmishyati, so which means that by hearing about the topics of the Lord, by hearing about him in the association of the devotees, because you can't really hear the laws from the newspaper. You can hear the topics of the Lord when you're in the association of like-minded devotees. We call them Sajatiya. Sajatiya means those devotees who are like-minded. So, by hearing the topic, just like we are discussing Bhagavatam, and of course I'm speaking here to the screen, and all of you, you're behind your various computer screen. But it's better, it's still better than nothing. Of course, the most preferable, of course, if you're in the temple setting, and then we are all speaking Bhagavatam in front of the live audience. But this is also okay, because after all, we are thousands of miles away. So people like myself can still share something about the topics of the Lord. So Tajo Shana Apabhagavatmani, this is the part of liberation. And then Shraddharati, Bhakti Anukamishiti. So which means by hearing these topics of the Lord, one faith develops. One develops strong faith. And indeed, this development of faith, Rati, what is Rati? Rati means that one develop attraction towards the Lord. Just imagine. Once you, so that which means everything about the Lord become like anything that connected with Krishna or is active, become like a stimulant. You know, Rati means just like, for example, you know, there's a young girl, a young boy, you know, when they are developing attraction for each other, you know, anything, they are very, very, you know, it's like, it become like a madness. It becomes like a madness. That's what happens. So the Rati develops, one develop Rati, which is the Rati means the taste, the strong attraction to the Lord. And then towards that, Bhakti, Shraddharati, Bhakti Anukamishiti, which means the devotional, the loving devotional service to the Lord develops. So this hearing of the last topics, this is also glorified by the gopis of Vrindavan. they glorify this hearing of lost topics. Because when the gopis, when they were in the forest of Vrindavan, at that time, they were in Vrindavan forest to be with Krishna. When Krishna was in the forest, he placed his flute. The gopis of Vrindavan, they heard his flute from wherever they were, and they all run to the forest to be with Krishna. And as they were with Krishna, Krishna disappeared. So Krishna disappeared from the assembly of the gopis, and then the gopis, they started singing. They started singing among themselves. And of course, they all singing about Krishna. So the gopis Tabakatamita Tapta Jivana Kavi Bihuditam Kama Sapaha Sabana Mangala Srimadatatam Bhuvignantiye Buridajana. So the gopis are saying Tabakatamita Tapta Jivana, that our dear Krishna, the talks about you is the life of all living entities. It gives all living entities life. Actually, if we are sick of materialistic existence, the medicine for curing material disease, it talks about Krishna. It is topic about the Supreme Lord Krishna. That is the only cure for material disease. Bhavoshadi. Oshadi means the cure to material disease. So talks about Krishna is the cure to material disease. It gives everyone life. It gives you life. So the gopis say, the talks about you is what gives life to all living entities. The narration about your pastimes, your kata, this tavakatamita, which the talks about you, is what gives life to all living entities. Tapta jivana, jivana means everyone in this material world. Because anyone who here talk about Krishna get benefit. Tapta jivana. Anyone who here talks about Krishna gets benefit. And then the gopis say, Kavibi uritam kama sapaham. So the gopis, they are saying that it's not just us who is saying this. Even the rishis, the great poets, they are saying the same thing. Kama sapaham means that the materialistic disease, the materialistic bondage, this is the cure. This is a cure for it. The cure for material disease, the cure for material bondage is to simply hear talks about Krishna. That's a cure, to hear about Krishna. And then the gopis said, Shravana Mangalam. Shravana means to hear. Mangala means very, very auspicious. It's very, very auspicious to hear talks about Krishna. Normally, usually the speaker, when they start speaking about Krishna, about the lost activities, they don't want to stop. They just want to continue speaking on and on, on and on, on and on. They don't want to stop. And then the hearer also, when the hearer, those who are hearing, they also don't want to stop hearing. Both speaker and the hearer, they forget themselves. They lose themselves in the act of hearing and speaking about Krishna. They lose themselves. Just like one person, he was supposed to go and sell some jewelry. It's actually a story, but I'm just cutting it short. This person was supposed to go and sell some jewelry so that he can have some money for the wedding of his daughter. Because he was a Brahmana, and Brahmana was kind of poor, but his wife was telling him that you better get your daughter married. So he was supposed to go and get his daughter married. And then he went outside the village to try to see, they had some jewelry, which they had kept. And they're supposed to sell this jewelry so they can get enough money for the marriage of his daughter. And the daughter's marriage is something that's supposed to take place within the next 4 days. So this Brahman, he took the jewelry, which his wife had kept. So he went outside the village. And when he went outside the village, somehow, this is very common here in India, that there's always what we call a Bhagavad Gita, whereby there's always the narration of Bhagavad going on. This is a very common thing, especially in Vrindavan. The month of Kartik is especially very, very famous. There's so many Bhagavad Gita going on. So this person, he was going to try to look for the buyers of the jewelry, but as he was going, he came across an assembly where Bhagavad Gita was going on. So he said, okay, let me just sit down for some time. Let me hear Bhagavad Gita for some time. After all this, normally when a devotee is a person, whenever there is Bhagavad discourse going on, devotees, they like to listen. They like to hear Bhagavad discourse. So this devotee Brahmana, he wanted to hear something. So he sat down, was listening to Bhagavad discourse going on. But as he sat down, he became totally absorbed in hearing, because the hearing was so sweet. He became absorbed in the hearing that he forgot himself. So much so that this Bhagavad discourse was actually going on for several days. Was going on for several days. And this Brahmana kept sitting, hearing for several days. And then at the end of the discourse, it was 5 days later. And this Brahmana realized that, oh, what happened? I'm here for 5 days, and I'm supposed to go and sell some jewelry for the marriage of my daughter. And the marriage is supposed to take place yesterday, and I'm still here. So what's going to happen now? So it's a very wonderful story, actually. So this is just to show that Shravana Mangala, this is what the gopis are saying, that is by hearing about Krishna is very, 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 very auspicious. Mangala means auspicious. Just like you go to Mangalati every day. If you live in a temple or near a temple, you can go to Mangalati. Mangalati means the auspicious. Very auspicious arti. So the gopi says, Shavana Mangala, Srimad at the time. Srimad means very, very beautiful. It's very, very beautiful to hear about the topics of you, Krishna. Very, very beautiful. Shavana Mangala, Srimad at the time, Bhuvi Gunantiye Buridajana, that, how glorious are those devotees who are actually preaching about your glories all over the world. How glorious are they? They are the most magnanimous philanthropists. Just like in this world, there are so many people, they call themselves philanthropists. Bill Gates and many others, they give billions and billions of dollars. So they go around and calling themselves philanthropists. And what did they do? Taking care of the body that is bound to die. So what is the benefit of the so-called philanthropy? Just to take care of the material body that is bound to die. What the real philanthropy that we can do is what can give someone an eternal life. How someone can get eternal life? What benefit we can do to such person? That's a real philanthropy. And this is what the gopi is, this is what they are saying. What can give someone an eternal benefit? So therefore, the gopi said, those devotees who are preaching your message, who are spreading this nectarian kata of Krishna to all over the world. These personalities, they are the real philanthropists. So therefore, Bhagavatam is saying here that, those that a person who is desirous, who wants to achieve perfection, complete perfection in life, must submissively hear topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is what they are saying. If a person desires his own welfare, what other topics to hear? What topic to hear? Because any other topic you hear simply agitate the mind. That's all. People like to gossip. They like to gossip. They like to gossip. This person, that person, whatever. Which is really have no benefit. It's not beneficial whatsoever. The devotees, they're like swan-like. They're like swans. They're like swans. They look for that, what is most beneficial. That's what they look for, the devotees. They don't want to waste their time. How much time do we have in this world? How much time do we have? So why should we waste time? Why should we waste a moment? When Sukadeva Goswami, when he came to the assembly, when Parikshit Maharaj was sitting, he was sitting before the assembly of all the sages. And Parikshit Maharaj was telling the sages that, great sages, I'm about to give up my body because they have been caused to die within 7 days. So I'm about to die. So therefore, tell me what I should do. What should be my activity? What should be my duty? I'm about to die. What should I do? Because I've been caused to die within 7 days. And Parikshit Maharaj was not asking because there's so many among all the sages who are all sitting, many of them are great mystics, great mystics. All of them, they could easily they could easily get rid of the cause, which was given to Parikshit Maharaj. That, okay, in 7 days from today, you're gonna be beaten by a snake bird. So that cause could easily be counteracted by all the rishis. But Sukadeva Parikshit Maharaj, he did not pray for that. He didn't say, all of you, please help me get rid of this cause. No. He simply asked them, a person is about to die, what should be his duty? What should be his activities? Because everyone in this world is on the verge of death in this world. Because you don't know how long we're going to live. You may step outside of our door, you may drop dead. You don't know what's going to happen. Nobody has got a timetable of what they're going to happen. When they're going to die. Nobody has that timetable. So when Parikshit Maharaj asked the sages, they were giving him so many different answers. Some say, we're going to pray for you. Some say, perform some sacrifice. Some say, do yoga, So he was being given different ideas about what to do, because at the last stage of his life. So which means there was no conclusion. There was no agreement among all the sages, because normally the sages are such that a sage can never agree with another sage, because you become a sage only when you have different idea. Then you become a sage, which means you always have to have a different idea but another sage. So you ask two sages a question, the two sages, they will give you different answers. They will give you two different answers if you ask two sages a question of subject. So there was no conclusive answer given to Parikshit Maharaj. And then Here comes Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami, he was young, calm, completely self-realized, was making completely self-realized. So when Sukadeva Goswami, when he came to the assembly, so all the rishis, even though many of them, they are thousands and millions of years old, but when they saw Sukadeva Goswami, they know his identity. They know who he was. So they all got up, they received him, and then they gave him a seat. He was given a invitation to sit down. So the same question, which Parikshit Maharaj asked the rishis, that what should be the duty of a person who's about to die? What will you do? So Sukadeva Goswami answered. He said, you should hear Krishna Katha. Hear the topics about Krishna. That should be the only duty. So when all the sages, when they heard this, that, oh, the only thing that should be done is just to hear about Krishna. So all of them, they clap their hands. They say, oh, sadhu, sadhu. Very good, very good, very good. This is the right answer. This is the right answer. That yes, you must hear the topic. And anybody about to die, we hear the topics of Krishna. And the topics of Krishna is contained within this Srimad Bhagavatam that we are hearing. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the most glorious scriptures that exclusively talks about the topics of the Supreme Lord, and especially about the topics of Lord Sri Krishna. So therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, he used to say that if every book in this world is burnt to ashes and only Bhagavatam remains, he said, nothing is lost. If every book is burnt to ashes, only Bhagavatam remains, nothing is lost. So therefore, Bhagavatam is nothing but the narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by daily reciting Bhagavatam, by daily hearing Bhagavatam, then our path to auspiciousness is paved. Our path to auspiciousness. So therefore, the sages, they are saying here that those who desire their own perfection in life, they must hear the topics of the Supreme Lord. They must hear the last topic. So therefore, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Path said, by those who desire their own good, which means by those, if you desire your own good, which means to do anything other than this, if you do anything else, just a waste of time. It's a waste of time. To do anything other than this is a waste of time. Okay. So thank you very much for those who have been listening. So if there is a question, you can please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, His Grace Ishwara Prabhu. Lots of transcendental stories, especially about Lord Damodara and Mother Yashoda. Beautiful to hear. So dear devotees, if you have questions, realizations, you are hereby being asked to unmute and you ask your question. Shri Ishwara Prabhu, if I may put the verse back on the screen, I want to ask a question from the pulpit.
Okay.
Shri Prabhupada is saying here that the systematic hearing of the transcendental activities, qualities, and names of Lord Shri Krishna pushes one towards eternal life. And I was going to ask what Shri Prabhupada means by systematic hearing, but he explains here.
Okay.
Systematic hearing means knowing him, that is Krishna, gradually in truth and fact. So we are told that we have to study Bhagavatam from Canto 1, Canto 2, Canto 3, all the way till we get to Canto 10. Now, so as we've started, we are treating Canto 1. So if one gets to a different environment and is asked to give Bhagavatam class, and meanwhile it is not starting from Canto 1, it's starting from maybe Canto 7, does the speaker say that I have to start from Canto 1, or you just do whatever the devotees there ask you to do? Because you may assume, or they may tell you that we started from Canto 1, Canto 2, Canto 3. What do you do?
Well, usually all of our temples, they all start the Bhagavatam class from Canto 1, and they go all the way to Canto 10 to 12. Now we have 12 cantos. And when they finish, and then they go back again, they start again from Canto 1. So depending on just like here in Durban, we're now in Canto 10 now, chapter 25, Canto 10. And then we're going to go on till Canto 12. And then when we finish, we'll go back to Canto 1. So depending on which temple you are in, after all, he's gonna have temples all over the world. So it depends on which temple you are in, and then you're asked to give class. Obviously, you have to give class on whatever canto chapter that the temple is on. You cannot say, "Oh, Prabhu, I've not reached this canto yet. I have to, I can only give class on this canto, on this one." And you cannot say that. Of course, that's of course, which means you have to be studious yourself. You have to study yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to. Normally, every devotee should be well read. Usually, when you join the movement, the first 3 years of your life in the movement, you should have finished reading Bhagavatam. By the time you are 5 years in the movement, you should have read all the books. Bhagavatam, Chitamita, all the books. I mean, when I joined, I know because we always on Sankirtan and all that, but at least the first 2 years or so, I finished reading Bhagavatam. By the time we 3 or 4 years old in the moment, I finished reading Chitamita and all the other books. And then, of course, then again, you read them, you can study it again. Then you have a systematic study. And that is due through the classes and also by hearing from advanced devotees. So that is what we call systematic study. Because Bhagavatam it's not that we can understand Bhagavatam by our own effort, but by the message of Prabhupada, we can read Bhagavatam and understand something. And then when we are in the classes, we are hearing Bhagavatam, we're asking questions. So in this way, our knowledge of Bhagavatam deepens. And of course, by sadhana, our sadhana also, that also increase our understanding of Bhagavatam. So therefore, when you're in a particular given temple and you're asked to give a class, just like when I travel, I give, I'm told to give class in different way. I was traveling recently. One temple I was giving class, I think it was Canto 3 or Canto 4, and there was another temple I was supposed to speak on Canto 7. So which means the topic must be known beforehand, because if you don't know the topic beforehand, so what's going to happen is that you're going to simply be stumbling. You'll be stumbling. So therefore, is especially if you're a traveling preacher, then you have to know the topic, you have to know the subject. So when you know the subject, then, and especially Bhagavatam is our daily affair. It's not that we read Bhagavatam only when we are giving class. Every day we have to read Bhagavatam every day. Every day is our daily, just like we eat every day. Similarly, also, we have to read Bhagavatam every day. It's continuous thing. You know, nature is called nature Bhagavata Seva. Nityam Bhagavata Seva means eternal service to Bhagavatam. By eternally, every day we read Bhagavatam every day. Every day we read it. That's our sadhana. Because through Bhagavatam, you can see Krishna. You can see Krishna. Through Bhagavatam. Because after all, Krishna is not, Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna himself. So therefore, by reading Bhagavatam, you are basically embracing Krishna. You're embracing Krishna by reading Bhagavatam. So therefore, it will no longer be a panic situation. If you're asked to give Bhagavatam in this country or whatever country it is. And of course, the longer we are in the movement, then the more the subject is more clear to us the longer we are in the moment. But of course, if you're new devotees, then obviously, I mean, I'm sure a new devotee is not going to be put in the position whereby he has to give classes on some advanced level of Bhagavatam. You know, usually that's not going to happen. Okay, so you know that's just the way it is.
Well,
that's okay.
Yes, yes, it's okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu. But I just wanted to find out: does this systematic studies only apply to Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita, or it applies to Bhagavad Gita as it is also? Because the way Srimad Bhagavatam is studied in our temples is usually not the same way Bhagavad Gita is studied, especially when someone has to give Bhagavad Gita class on Sundays. It's oftentimes like you select. So I just wanted to find out.
I mean, every one of our book is systematic study. Everyone, not just Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, Nectar Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, all the books, they are systematic study. And of course, every book, they all complement one another. For example, Bhagavad Gita is like the basics. We always say Bhagavad Gita is like undergraduate. Bhagavatam is a graduate, and Chaitanya is postgraduate. But again, we are studying all of them. We read all of them again and again. Whatever you read in Chaitanya is a teaching of the Bhagavatam. And whatever you read in Bhagavatam is a teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. You see, it's a teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. After all, Krishna himself become a devotee. Some of them are praying again in the Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavatam is showing you how to be a devotee of Krishna. It's showing you the life of devotee of Krishna, how devotee of Krishna live their life. So you read about all this in the Bhagavatam. So all the scriptures, they all complement one another. And of course, for those who want to go much, much further advanced, you have the Goswamis writings, you have the teachings, writings of the Goswamis, like the Sandarbhas, the Bhagavatamitas, Bhakti-Rasamrita Sindhu. There are so many books written by the Goswami, which further the study, which is like in-depth study of Bhagavatam, or whatever is contained in Bhagavad Gita. You know, it's like in-depth study by reading this, you know, those books of the Goswamis. Apart from that, for those who like, you know, who don't have the capability to study the book of the Goswamis, then, you know, Prabhupada's book is enough. You have Bhagavatam, Chaitanya. And by simply reading those books again and again and again and again and again, all the topics become very, very clear, you know. And of course, the thing is that every time we read, just like, for example, like Bhagavad Gita, for example, it's not that one has become a perfect student of the Bhagavad Gita, that he will not be reading Gita again. For example, I've been reading Bhagavad Gita now for about 44, 45 years now. And just yesterday, I gave Gita class in the temple. Still, even though I've been giving class, I've been reading Gita, I've been giving class for the past 40-something years, I still have to prepare myself for it. Because Gita is the word of Krishna. And word of Krishna is always new, it's ever new. So every time it's like, oh, what I have to say? What I have to say this time? Because it's the word of Krishna. Each time you read the Gita, it's always new, new thing. You know, so it is like that. It's ever fresh. So we have to it's a continuous cultivation, continuous reading again and again and again and again and again and again. And just like one devotee who was a Prabhupada's servant, we were in some assembly yesterday, as this devotee was saying how Prabhupada will himself, he will read his own book every day. And sometimes Prabhupada will tell him that I'm reading this book myself. He said, this book I'm reading, he said, this book, this is not my word. This is Krishna's word. So therefore, I'm reading this, even though he's the one that wrote, he's the one that composed the purpose. He's reading it himself every day. Is that because this is Krishna's word? So, you know, because Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, this is Krishna. They're not different from Krishna. And that is our life. That's our, when we have them, we have everything. And there's no amount of wealth in this world that can replace that. No amount of wealth that can replace Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. No amount of wealth that can replace names of Krishna. Nothing.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anyone else with a question, comment, please indicate by using your hand emoji or your physical hand. See, Prabhuji, I don't want to say I'm jealous of you, but I can boldly say that you were very fortunate and very blessed that in your early days, you had such opportunity to study the scriptures like that, because in most of our temples, at least, as far as I know in West Africa, when you join, the most emphasis is on service. So people will do service, and they may not even have time to study on their own. The only time they study is in the temple room when somebody is speaking. So you were very fortunate that you were able to study within that short span of time. But I don't know the system as it is now, because I believe it also depends on the temple president and his mood. And if a devotee is fortunate enough to be serving somewhere like maybe in the Govinda shop, then he or she may have enough time to study. Otherwise, if you just in the temple, all the concentration is on 7. And oftentimes these leaders will tell story. Somebody approached Srila Bhaktisiddhanta with lots of questions. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, okay, you go wash the pots. And by washing the pots, he had some realizations. So I'm sure you know about this. So I don't know, since you are one of the senior devotees, maybe you can also encourage the present day devotees, especially in our region, so that they encourage devotees to study, because like you were saying, it's very, very important. Hare Krishna.
Well, I mean, it's very highly important. Of course, you know, being one of the early pioneers at the moment in West Africa, so that advantage is there. But at the same time, also, it's also up to individual persons, individual initiatives, because with the individual initiatives, there will always be chance to study within individual initiatives, even though the temple management may not be encouraging in respect to study, they just emphasizing on the service. But, you know, and of course, it all depends on what kind of temple environment one is in. I know, like places like in Chopati, for example, and some temples in India, the emphasis on devotee study is always there, whereby devotees are given, when they join, they are given systematic training. It's based on study of the scriptures. Because the study of the scriptures make us very strong, make us very strong. Because we become strong when we're able to answer, when so many questions are answered, when so many doubts is able to be clear within our mind. And the doubts are clear when there is the sufficient understanding of the scriptures. Then all the doubts get removed. So some temples, they do emphasize the study of the scriptures very systematically, actually. So that's why I do compliment the temple like Chopati. I do compliment them because they do emphasize that. And many of our temples also do. Now, of course, in Africa now, I know West Africa is, I don't even think they have devotees in the temples anymore. So things are much different now. So I don't know what's going on there in West Africa. I'm sure Salika can say something. He's the temple president. He can mention about how you get devotee in his temple to read the scriptures. It's very, very important. This is something that the temple leaders have to do. Make sure the devotees study. They know the sastra. Because by the study, that makes them become very strong. That makes them become very strong. And of course, service has to be there also, because through service, everything become more meaningful through service. So our service is there. At the same time, the study must be there. Chanting, studying. I know that when I was with Bhakti Maharaj, he always encourage devotees to make a timetable. Whereby you make a timetable for time for this, time for that, time for this, time for that. When I was in America, we used to run around in different cities, trying to collect money, trying to raise funds for West Africa temples. But even though this is something we were doing, day in, day out, but at the same time also, there's always time taken off for studying. Because personally, I'm always attracted to the scriptures. I'm always attracted towards the studying of the scriptures. It is my nature. I like it. I like to study. So I do have that not everyone has such an inclination to study. But devotees, those who don't have such an inclination to study, they should be encouraged. Because by knowing the scriptures, it makes us very, very strong. And when we are strong, the chance of falling is very, very minimal. The chance of falling down to sense gratification is very, very minimal when we are strong. We read, we associate with advanced devotees. Those who are above us, we associate with them. We ask them questions, we serve them, we ask them questions, like that. So all these things make us become very, very strong. So again, it has to be, the most important is the individual effort, individual desire. Desire must be there. Because even though the temple may say, okay, everybody must study at this particular time, some may say, no, I don't have time to study, or I don't want to study. Some still may reject to study. So not everyone has such an inclination to study. Not everyone has such an inclination. Why? Because we have different type of people. You have those who are Brahmanically inclined. You have those who are, they want to manage. And then you have those who simply, maybe they have, Vaishya tendency. And then you have those who simply want to be workers, Sudra tendency. So you have 4 classes of people that are always there. And this is there among our devotees also. So that's why I said that we are not all the same. We are not the same through our mentalities. We all have different proclivities, as I say.
Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Somebody else has question. Salika
Yeah.
is there.
Salika Prabhu, please unmute. Now, Salika, change your microphone, please.
We can't hear you.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me now?
Okay, can hear you now.
It's much better, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Ishwara Prabhu, for the beautiful class and your emphasis on the need for devotees to study the scriptures is actually very key. And I totally agree with your point. To the degree a devotee studies the scriptures, to that degree, a devotee will be advanced or not advanced in devotional life. And also it correlates with the level of the possibility of a devotee falling down, because I was fortunate like you, because I had a very scholarly devotees as my early leaders in the movement. I remember that when I joined the movement, I also like you, in my first 2 years of devotional service, I studied the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, and I started studying Chaitanya Charitamrita after that. Of course, I finished Bhagavad Gita before I came to the temple. I was reading the Bhagavad Gita for the second time when I came to the temple. But then when I came to the temple, thanks to his devotees like Omkara Prabhu and then Bhakti Vasudev. Bhakti Vasudev would lie even to the commander that is sending me out, and I will be locked in his office while I will be studying Bhagavatam. Then he will tell them he has sent me out, but actually I'm in his office. And Omkara Prabhu personally, he kept me in toilet, washing of his toilet and bathroom in his office for more than 4 years in my devotional life, just for me to have opportunity to be able to read. So I'll hide in his bedroom, and because it was the regional secretary, then in some first video we exchanged at different times. So I'll wash his bedroom, and immediately I finish that, I'll just sit in his office and I'll study Bhagavatam. So I think that has helped me a lot in my foundation of devotional life. So I agree totally with what you said, that if a devotee has opportunity to study in the first few years, and practically almost all the verses I know today are verses that I have memorized in my first 4 or 5 years in devotional life. So it was very important, and I'm appreciative that you are emphasizing it. It helps a lot. Now, coming to our present day, this morning I was listening to a lecture given by Srila Gurudev. Actually, it was in the lectures and kind of a presentation to the GBC body in 2003 in Mayapur. And he was mentioning all of these things, how our movement has changed so much in our recent times. And we need to also change our approach to doing things. I remember that looking at our situation now, there is actually a whole lot of things to be able to do in trying to bring things back on track. But I guess that maybe Krishna also has his plan for how things is going to be able to develop. But presently, like you said, there are not many devotees in most of the temples. I mean, the biggest temple in Lagos Temple, St. Lagos Temple, I don't think Lagos Temple has up to 10 devotees there. I'm not sure 10 devotees. If they have up to 7, maybe that would be very good, because as at the last time I visited, maybe they have about 5 resident devotees, apart from people who come from outside. And so that is the situation with all of our temples. I think the only temple you can say has more number of people today in our yatra in Nigeria, I'm talking about, is in Port Harcourt. And Port Harcourt is as a result of the fact that Ojaswi Sham Prabhu is helping so many of them to stay in there. So these are the situations with our temples now, which is quite unfortunate. And it is not unconnected with 2 things: the study of the scriptures and lack of Sankirtan and Harinam. Because in those days, one of the key things in the temples is that we have a daily Harinam. We continuously do Harinam on a day, almost on a daily basis. There is constant devotees going out. So from Harinam, we bring devotee people, new people to the temple. Some people get and they come to the temple like that. We're making devotees, but these are not longer there now. There are so many factors we can attribute this to, but the reality is that our preaching is not as strong as it used to be in the past. So it's affecting also our patronage. And I think with the developing situations, maybe if probably we can increase the ability to be able to preach using the advancement of technology, I think it could help us. But one of the greatest challenge I think West Africa has is that lack of cooperation, because no one single person can do much from what I've seen, because we don't have the younger generation of devotees. When we were in the movement, people were still joining. But I can say practically since from 2005 till date, I don't think we have devotees joining the movement in terms of the resident devotees. Whoever you see in most of these temples are people who are recycled. So it's a big challenge. And I think one of the greatest challenge to that is as a result of a lack of cooperation, which we need to work on. And I don't know how Krishna will make us achieve that. But this is my realization and experience. Now, talking about the class today, I want to ask the question, actually. My question is based on the fact that today is the last day of Kartik. And we have Kartik celebration every year. We do after Kartik, then we'll come to prepare for new at Kartik, and then this period is like the end of the most of Vaishnava to New Year. We start from Gopinam and all of that. As we do all of these ceremonies, I was just reflecting. How do we remain in the mood of Kartik even after this Kartik period? I know
how to stay in the mood.
How to remain in the mood of Kartik even after the Kartik period, because these festivals during the period we are all hyper. We do a lot of activities, we memorize more, we think more about Krishna, we do most of devotional activities. So how do we remain in that mood? That's my question.
Just I've seen some greetings. So happy end of Kartik. So now what does that mean? Happy end of Kartik. So now end of Kartik is finished now. You go back to your old ways. So that's not a sad greeting, not a happy end of Kartik. Which means actually in reality, whatever vow we have taken in this Kartik, because Kartik is supposed to give us the momentum. It's supposed to give us the momentum so that we go ahead in our devotional life. It's supposed to give us that boost. Okay, I'll make a vow in this month of Kartik, and this vow will prepare me to the higher level of Krishna consciousness. So that's supposed to be, that's the way it's supposed to. It's not that, okay, now, yeah, this month, I'm eating less, reading more, chanting more. Now the Kartik's finished now, I can start eating more, I can start reading less, I can start chanting less. So which means we are not really making that much advancements. We're supposed to, Kartik's supposed to give us, because anything within Kartik, the result of it is much more, transfer with much more than the normal time. So which means we're supposed to be much more energized. We're supposed to be more energized in our spiritual affairs, in our spiritual activity. It's supposed to be much more energized. But somehow we have lazy nature. So because of our laziness, so therefore we are not steady in our vows. Our vows is not steady because of our lazy nature. So our vow is not steady. We remain serious for some time, and then after the season is over, again we go back to our own ways. So it's not supposed to be like that. And that's what devotees, they should definitely find ways to come to the Holy Dham, to Vrindavan, especially Vrindavan. Here, there's hardly any devotee that come from Africa this year to Vrindavan, especially West Africa. Some devotee came from South Africa. In West Africa, not a single person. Only a few devotees who are here, and as they have been here for many, many years now. Just about 3 or 4 devotees from Africa who have been here for many years. They are the only one. The young devotees who are studying. Everyone else, nobody. So there should be a concerted effort, because every branch of ISKCON, devotees are coming from everywhere to Vrindavan for Kartik time. Even just to come and spend a few days, they are coming for that. It's not like, oh, they are coming from a rich place. No. In this day and time, it's not that people are very rich. It's not that because they're coming from America, so because they're very rich. Even Americans, everyone is struggling everywhere. And not just America, people are coming from everywhere. They're coming from China, they're coming from, Indonesia, many, many poor regions that are even much poorer than Africa. People are coming to Vrindavan. So the devotees are finding ways to come. So if devotees can start making effort that, yes, during the month of Kartik, let's go to Vrindavan. Group of devotees can come from Africa. Let's come to Vrindavan. And see, when you come to Vrindavan, you will see people like me, and I will encourage you to stay, to have, come. You just make such effort to come. And if you do that, you will see change. The yatra is going down because there is nothing to look up to. Nothing to look up to. I don't know, maybe your leaders are not encouraging you to come here. I don't know. But people should be coming. So that people become very, very much encouraged when they go back to their base. So the yatra is very low there because devotees don't have much to look up to. They look up to. It's each other they are seeing each time, because they are seeing each other each time. As they say, familiarity breeds contempt. So it's just the same person, look at him, this and that. Everybody become very familiar with one another. And because of this familiarity, it's difficult to make any progress. So therefore, devotees should make efforts to come to Vrindavan. Or during opening time, at least come to Vrindavan, come and spend some time. And then you will get the energy to go back. Otherwise, how long can you go on? Many devotees, when I was there many years ago, I saw many devotees going to church. They're going to Christian church. So what is that?
Wow.
So we are talking of so much taste. I'm just describing Bhagavatam of taste. The juice that is in, but here Bhagavatam, you become very, very joyful. I just read it, and then you are going to church. What do you get in the church? What do you get there?
I've never heard anything like that before, Prabhuji. What?
I was there.
It's a reality. It's a reality.
Salika Prabhu can tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
unbelievable.
Because devotees have no taste. That's the thing. No taste. So, which is very, very unfortunate, Very unfortunate.
Shri Ishwara Prabhu, I can't thank you enough, but don't you think, I'm saying don't you think, but of course it's based on the scriptures and your realizations also being a senior devotee. Don't you think, even though it mostly depends on the individual as to having a taste for studying the scriptures, but don't you think that can also be encouraged or enhanced by the temple president? And I'm asking this because I don't know if, yes, Srimad Prabhu is here. Almost every devotee that has been trained by Srimad Prabhu loves to distribute books. It's a Sankirtan devotee. naturally. They love to do. Recently, Pavitra Prabhu posted something on our platform about how many books he's distributed, and I've known him for years, and he's been doing this all his devotional life.
And
So
Pavitra lives in Vrindavan, you have to know that.
yeah, yes,
So
yes.
he's getting energized every day. He lives in Vrindavan.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, of course, that
So-
is there. That is there. But even before he came to Vrindavan, wherever he's been, he's always a Mahabook distributor. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes the individual may not have affinity to a particular aspect of devotional service, but by the encouragement and the training of the leadership, that might help that individual. So I'm thinking that if the leaders themselves love to help devotees in studying the scriptures, even devotees who may on their own not like studying may end up liking to study the scriptures.
Yeah, apart from of course, the leadership, it's, as I said before, it's just the leadership has a very big role, the temple leaders. Like in my experience, I remember in Chapati Temple, the temple leaders here, they make sure the devotee have a systematic study. Even during prasad time, there's a reading going on. And if you miss any class, there'll be no prasad for you. I mean, they're so serious, like anything, you know. So the leaders, they put every effort to make sure devotees are read, they understand. Apart from the individual initiative of particular, because as they say, you can force a horse to river, but you cannot force it to drink. I think they say that. So some, no matter what effort you put in there, they still do what they want to do anyway. So the individual effort also has to be there. The individual initiative has to be there. I mean, just like Sanika is probably just saying now that he'll be locked in the bathroom so they can read the book. So he has got a tough leader in the person of Omkar Prabhu. Me and him, we joined together. We both joined together. So, but the leadership has a big role.
Yeah.
The leaders has to be encouraged by the top leaders. This. Anyway, the problem that's going on in Africa, this problem needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed. The top leaders, they have to come together and address the problem that is going on in West Africa. They have to, because every year I'm here in India and I see many devotees from all over the world, different regions, they come and assemble, and not a single, hardly any African that is here that comes. Nobody comes from Africa. Some do come from South Africa, some do come from East Africa, but nobody comes from West Africa. Nobody. And I don't know why the leaders there, why they are not encouraging the devotees to come. They should come. They should come. You can be in Africa, be in India and have an African group. You can have African yatra. That's possible. Okay, I just see on the screen, I see the Mitravinda has a question on the screen.
Yeah,
Can we speak?
As it says, can we speak about the month of Kartik being about Srimati Radharani and the relationship?
Well, in my beginning of my class, I spoke about Kartik, about the month of Kartik. If you had come early in the class, you might have heard that class. I spoke, I think the first 15 minutes or so, or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I was speaking about the month of Damodar.
Yeah, a lot.
Which is the month when Mother Yashoda by Krishna. So I did spoke about that. If you had come early, you will have heard that. And if I had to speak about it again, I don't think we have time for us to listen to that. There's no. I already spoke about that already.
Yeah,
about the
thank you.
meaning of the month of Kartik. Those who are here in the beginning, they know that.
Yeah.
So everybody
go-
should start to come. Huh?
I
Everybody
was-
should start to come early for the class.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's true. Sri Govinda, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All glory to Gurudev, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Very
Prabhupada.
nice class. Very, very nice class, and it's really encouraging. So many points has been given. But I'm quite shocked. I'm quite really shocked that says some devotees were going to church, leaving the temple and going to church, and we are surprised. So that made me very shocked, because quite recently I hear devotees saying that the Christians, wherever devotees are going, the devotees of Krishna are going after death, the Christians can also go there. So that makes me very shocked. That is, we are talking about the devotees living and now going to church, and we are surprised that they can go back to church. So that is kind of amazing to me. What do you think, Prabhu? These devotees, they said going to church or becoming a Christian, they have the same destination like devotees. So why are we shocked?
There's no such a thing as the same destination as devotees. Usually, people who have no taste, or they've lost their taste in Krishna consciousness, and they see no future in Krishna consciousness, they say, "Oh, let me go back to my old ways." After all, many of us, we are either previously Christians or Muslims before we came to Krishna consciousness. Why we come to Krishna consciousness? Because we saw something better than what we have been used to. Better answer, better philosophy, better understanding of the destination of life. So that's why we came to Krishna consciousness. But somehow, due to weaknesses of the heart, and also due to intense material desires, so people become weak in Krishna consciousness. So the result of that weakness is going back to your old ways, back to, church or whatever, or dabbling here and there. I even heard some devotees, sometimes they even go to Babalawos.
What is that?
Babalawos, so because something, material desire make you mad, make you mad. And when you are mad, you lose your mind. And then you go here and there, you go here and you go here and there. This due to material desires. Become obsession. So you lose your faculty. And then you go here and there. And of course, for those who have practiced before, and then they give up, they go back to their old ways. And it doesn't mean that what they've done is lost. If you just kept in a bank account, if you kept there, so that in their next life, again, they will revive in their next life again. So, because after all, whatever we accumulate in Krishna consciousness, that remain our permanent spiritual bank. So, in the future life, again, we continue again. We continue again where we left off. But it's just very unfortunate that, when I was in Nigeria some few years ago, this is what everybody's telling me. That, this person is going to church, that person is going to church. I said, so, this is due to material desires. And this which has material desire, which has brought in the weakness of heart. And that is when people no longer see the future of Krishna consciousness as being very bright, when they no longer see that. and especially if the leaders are not exemplary. So if the leaders are not exemplary themselves, so ultimately the normal devotees, they will follow, they will say, oh, look at it, look at this. If this person is like this, hey, about me. So that causes weakness of it. So this is all the various stages of Maya, you know. So we have to pray to the Lord. We have to pray. We have to increase our chanting. We have to increase our chanting. We should not just stop at 16 rounds a day. We have to chant more than 16 rounds a day. 16 rounds is just the basic. And we find ourselves, if you are not being attentive to our chanting, if we have to force ourselves to chanting, we should not force ourselves to chant. It should be something that is natural to us. But if you have to force ourselves to chant, then we should try to be in very good association. We should find those devotees who are very, very enthusiastic in their Krishna consciousness. They're very, very exemplary in their Krishna consciousness. And we should start to be around them. We start to be around those devotees. And that will encourage us. Otherwise, you know, go back and forth church. You know, one leg in the temple and one leg in the church. You know, we become like that. So one leg in the temple, one leg in the church is like we tend to cross the river, and then we put our leg. We put two legs in two boats. One leg here, another leg here. So how are you going to cross the river when you put your leg in the two separate boats? You'll be frustrated. You'll be frustrated. So, you know, of course, destination, not the same destination. No. It's only different. So we have to become strong. Simple as that. And that to become strong, we have to find those devotees who are very strong and how we can associate with them. If you don't find those devotees, we have to pray to the Lord, my dear Lord, please send me your dear devotees so that I can get the association. We have to pray to the Lord. And if you don't find those persons within our immediate environment, then we should go search out to that environment where you can find such devotees. And that's why I always emphasize that devotees try to come to India, try to come. No matter how great of a preacher you are, you have to come to the Holy Dham. Because Holy Dham, the great devotees are there. You can associate with them. No matter how great of devotees you are, it's like Prabhupada, constantly we come to India all the time. Sometimes Prabhupada we write his God brother that I'm here in this foreign place, but my heart is anchoring to be back in Vrindavan. So Prabhupada will say that, you know. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. But still, hankering to be in Vrindavan. So what can we do? Why can't we do the same, be the same? We should try it. We should make an effort to be that way.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Salika Prabhu, I know your time is quite late. Can you take one or more? Salika Prabhu, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Shara Prabhu. I think maybe if there are no other questions, we can add. Actually, it's not a question, but it's just a comment on Prabhu Govinda's, Govinda Prabhu's, could I call it a question or sarcastic question? Because I know he knows the answers, but he just wanted to broaden our horizon on it. The fact is this, that the fact that, yes, ultimately every living entity is coming from Krishna, they will end up in Krishna, but that does not mean that when we leave our present body, everybody will go to Krishna now, because if it was so, Krishna will not say, Ye Yatamam Prapadyante. He is rewarding according to. So somebody, and there is also in 7 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, he has already mentioned, those who worship demigods will go to demigod. So those who worship Christ will go to Christ. Jesus Christ himself says, in my Father's kingdom, there are many mansions. So the fact that they all will end up in Krishna doesn't mean that it means that everybody will go to Goloka Vrindavan, irrespective of whatever they go to. And so that we should not misunderstand, because the fact is that, yes, everybody ultimately, the timing of their getting to Krishna may be different, but ultimately, because everything is coming from Krishna, it will rest back in Krishna. That is the point. But talking about our particular situation, why we're surprised, and it is interesting, maybe tomorrow or next, if time permits, I'm going to share something about this lecture that Gurudev. I think devotees should listen more to that. To that particular, once in a while, I go back to that particular lecture, I go to listening to that lecture again and again. And one of the points that Gurudev was mentioning in that fact is that the reality is that devotees leaving our movement doesn't mean that they necessarily are completely nuisance or they are just in Maya. Sometimes also when the environment is not conducive enough, like Ishwara Prabhu said, when we have an inconducive environment, it also could lead to people losing faith in Krishna consciousness. So we have to watch it very carefully. Some of these people are, yes, they are weak in their faith, but our system is supposed to enhance people's faith, not decrease their faith or make them lose the faith they have entirely. So the reality is that it's not completely the fault of the people who leave the movement. When we look closely, our activities also sometimes, our environmental situation, the temple environment also. I mean, we all can see that practically there is no prasadam in any temple again. One of the key things that Srila Prabhupada used in keeping the starting the movement and attracting so many devotees in the early days was prasadam. And this was a culture in those days. You remember when you come to the temple in those days, the kind of prasadam you get, the taste of the prasadam from miles away. I remember those days in Mafuluk in Old Airport Road, when we were there. When prasadam is being cooked in the temple, you will not open your nose wide to smell the aroma of prasadam coming from the temple about a kilometer away. But our temples are not like that nowadays. So these are things, and these are not one person's problem. It's just a collective challenge. And like I said, we just all have to start thinking and praying very hard to the Parampara to make us a tool in making things happen in the way that it will re-energize our system. There is a practical challenge. And the fact is that we will not blame Kali Yuga, but the reality is Kali Yuga is here. And times are changing so fast. And unless we catch up fast with the changing times, we'll just continue. Gurudev said that. That was one of the last things he said when he came in 2003. He said, he hopes and pray that this is the least that we can fall in our Krishna consciousness collectively and individually. He said, because anything from below this stage we are now presently means that we are going into an instinct. And that is practically what is happening to us, that we see that now from 2005, like I said earlier, we practically are not making devotees. And this is not something abnormal. The fact is that we individually are trying to do something, but the fact is that we need to collectively come back together as a West African devotees to re-energize ourselves and then be able to see what instructions that we have been given.
I think it's present. I think Ishwara Prabhu, you may add a word to it. I think you've kind of understood what he's trying to get across.
Yeah, he was commenting on my words.
Yeah.
You know.
For all of us, any of our devotees who are from age 0 to 30 years are not fully in our system. And why is that? And these are at the time of their youth. This is the time we are in devotional. We join devotional service. You can imagine when I look at the statistics of devotees children in Nigeria alone. You find an average of about close to 100 or more graduate young devotees, devoted children. But practically, you cannot find 10 of them in the temple. You cannot even find 5 who are fully dedicated to the process of devotional service. It's a big concern. And it's not something that we can point fingers to. But the reality is that times are changing so fast, and unless we change so fast, we will not wait. That because we say this is there, that is there. Maya will continue attacking. And if we don't continue accelerating, then situation is that we'll find ourselves more and more in this kind of a situation that we are in. That is my own realization. So Govinda Prabhu, thank you for bringing that out. But the reality is that the fact that we say that devotees are going to go, even if someone goes through Christianity or Islam, is still ultimately going to come to Krishna. That does not mean that because he's going to Christian church for now, he will go back to Goloka Vrindavan. He will go back to Krishna, but maybe in another 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 lifetimes. But ultimately, Krishna will take him as long as he has that sincerity of mind. That's what Krishna says. So I know you know the answer, but just to make things more enlivening, so you bring it up.
Just like in the Bhagavad Gita text numbers, chapter 6, text number 45. So Srila Prabhupada was commenting because Krishna was talking about the unsuccessful yogi. And in the purpose of that text, Srila Prabhupada was saying how the process before a person can attain a perfection is after many births. It takes many births before a person can attain perfection, the perfection of yoga. And it's after that, after many births, and then after attaining perfection, that is after that one comes to Krishna consciousness. So we are talking of a system that takes several lifetimes, several lifetimes, you see. So, you know, even if you read it, it's many lifetimes, it mentioned that. Several births. There is in the Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 24, I think text 10. This one was also emphasized in this text. 3:24:10. I think that must be the one. Whereby Slapa actually wrote many births of attaining perfection. So according to say, the Lord said, Nehabi Kraman Sasti, Nehabi Kraman Sasti, so was that? In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. And it seems a small endeavor can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So which means the more, once we come to Krishna consciousness, even with the slightest endeavor, it's that alone can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So which means one will no longer turn to the material pool. Yes, it may take several lifetimes, but eventually one will come to the process again, whereby one will go towards perfection. So that is there. So in our situation, of this situation of West African thing, again, it's up to the leaders that are there, that yes, all the devotees can be encouraged to stay. Of course, the leaders, this will come by their own personal dedication, personal examples. So times is not the same. I mean, just like today, I just gave a lecture today to the group of Russian devotees, more than 100 young, new Russian devotees, and they're very enthusiastic. So I was thinking, as I was talking to these Russian devotees, and I was thinking in my mind, when are we going to have this kind of situation again in West Africa? Where can we have this kind of situation again? Where we have so many vibrant young devotees coming, and they're so enthusiastic, dancing, very eager to hear to the process of Krishna consciousness. So sometimes when I'm preaching to this group of people, I feel kind of shame within myself that I in my own place. This kind of situation is not there in my own place. So who to blame? I would say I must include, after I'm not there. I've not been there for God knows when. So I would say maybe I'm also contributed to the blame also. I'm part of those to blame. But Oh no, of course, Krishna is in control. But the leaders should, maybe everybody, so come together. Let's put aside all the egos. Like, okay, I am guru, I am leader, I'm this. Let's put aside all that ego and then try to have some kind of, consensus in terms of, okay, how to better the situation. How to better the situation by giving our personal pride, personal circumstance, how to better the situation there. Which means we have to see ourselves as Mahaprabhu's servants. We have to see ourselves, how to see ourselves as the servant of Mahaprabhu. If you see ourselves as servant of Mahaprabhu, then we can make some significant contribution. But again, we're only taking in terms of what is good for ourselves. Now, because we are taking only in terms of what is good for us, it's difficult for us to think of helping others. I'm also included, so I'm not separating myself from that. Okay. So the leaders, we have to bring their head together. All right.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Ishwara Prabhu. This is the nectar of Bhagavatam. We speak our heart much more than we speak our brain. So it's been so beautiful. And I think it's pretty much late at your end, and we can't thank you enough for spending all this much time with us. And therefore, we will hereby request all the devotees. But before we do that, Shima Varaha, are you still here? I would love to hear something from you before we bring the class to a close. Varaha Prabhu.
Sorry, I'm driving.
Oh, you're driving? Okay. Okay. All right. So at this point, we're going to request all the devotees to unmute, and then we chant Hare Krishna to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Ishwara Prabhu. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
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 Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Pancha kalpa tarabhyascha, Sivata, Patitanam All Majesty, Grace Ishwara Prabhu ki.
Yes, the